Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at The Division. The purpose of this video is to kind of go back and look at some of the things that I've experienced after not playing the game for almost 2 years. I bought the game when it came out. It was like March 2016, I believe. And I beat the game, beat all the story modes, and then left the game, and of course a lot has changed, and so this video is going to be primarily for either new players jumping into the game and or players like myself that beat the game when it came out and are looking to get back into the game and kind of are a bit confused as to what the hell's going on, because I mean there's so much that's changed and so much that's thrown at you that it can be a bit overwhelming at times. So with that said, we're going to start out with when I first reloaded or installed the game, and I bought the season pass. Basically, for those of you that don't know, we'll kind of go over some of this, and I'll try not to make this video too long. That the season pass contains like 3 DLCs, and that was one of the primary reasons that I wanted to get back into it. You have Underground, Survival, and The Last Stand. And like I said, I'll briefly touch on each one of those and what they are, because I honestly really didn't know. And once I got into the game, it was like, holy crap, not only did they change all of these different things within the game, but I had these expansion passes that I had no idea how to access, where to go, what to do, what was going on, because you get all of them more or less at one time. And there are a few things that you have to do in order to get access to them, so hopefully I'll help somebody out in some way explaining a few of those details. And I don't know, and I'll kind of go over, like I said, just I want to say briefly. I hope it's briefly, but we'll see, because these things can get pretty lengthy. Anyway, I am the Swamp Donkey. A lot of people refer to me as Donkey. So with that said, let's get into the meat of this thing. So when I first loaded it up, I mean, my screen was going off, or the game was like just pumping a ton of downloads, and I'm assuming that had to do with the season pass. And basically, it sounded like a slot machine in a casino that just won the jackpot. So when I loaded up the game, if you buy the season pass and you're just starting out, you're gonna have to wait. It was probably a good few minutes, because it was just a matter of each individual piece of clothing that comes with the season pass that was just being, like I said, updated to the queue, and you have to go get that from a vendor, and I'll explain that as well. So when you pull open your world map, one of the things that I noticed were they had these incursions, and these are some things that were added in to keep people playing the game, and it's recommended that you do play these. I really haven't tried a whole lot of these, but it's something that I would recommend that you do. If you notice the safe houses, they have little icons on. Basically what that's indicating is if you go to that safe house in that area, there's a board, and I'll show you guys what it is exactly that we're looking at. And the whole premise of it is to do high value targets, and these targets drop loot, which brings me into another aspect. The amount of loot in this game that gets dropped at this point is a lot better than what it used to. I remember fighting elites and going through the storyline, and it was like, what? This is all I get? Yeah, that's not the case. If you go back and look at my previous video that I did, I started out when I reloaded the game up, reinstalled it. I think my gear level was around 145-ish. Yeah, that's not the case anymore. As you can see, we're sitting at 230, and I've played the game over this past weekend, and I've been able to obtain that. So some things that were confusing right off the bat for me were when we get into like your inventory and you go up, and I just have a lot of random shit more or less thrown on here just to get my gear level up, and I'll explain why in a second. You have appearance, and you have, if you look under your appearance button, you go to collections, you have these collections, and you have the striker, you have the tactician, reclaimer, so on and so forth. And basically as you go through the game, and I don't know if I've gotten some of these on a drop, it's possible, but a lot of these that I've gotten were due to like loot boxes. I'm going to refer to them as a loot box. There are certain in-game credits, and you use that in order to open these chests, and of course you get different gear for that. And you do that in a separate part of, and I'll explain that as well. A lot of this I had to go through, but you do that in a separate part of the base of operations, which is where we're at now. So, like I said, I'm going to try to make it as brief as possible, but unfortunately, there's just so much shit going on. This is just more for appearance so that you can make your character look however you want them to. You don't necessarily have to go that route. You have random appearance, as you can see, like how you have the seeker pants, shirts, hats, all that crap. It just makes your character look how you want them to look. That's pretty much the best way I can put it. I haven't figured out yet what the little icon is to the right of, you see the little wing looking symbol right there, or the pilot symbol. I'm not sure exactly what those are yet. I haven't researched that in depth with it, because this for me is just appearance. As far as I'm aware of, it really doesn't have any effect on your abilities. However, this does, and your weapons, your gear, basically the whole loadout that you have affects. If you look in the lower right hand corner, you have a gear scale basically, and it's all based on points. So I have like my value is like 230 right now. And so basically what that allows you to do is do different world tiers. And you're thinking, okay, Donkey, what the hell are you talking about? Well, if you look at the top left-hand corner of my map, it says World Tier 4. If you look below that, it says Change Tier. I had no earthly idea. If you hold this button down, basically, you come to tier level. You start out on Tier 1. This is something I don't ever recall being in the game previously. I think this was added. So, predicated on your scale, you have a tier scale, as you can tell, 3, 4, 2, so on and so forth. It scales from tier 2 scales from 182 to 203, 3 from 204 to 228, and 4, 229 to 255. In order to get to tier 5, you have to be above 255. So, the reason why this is important is because if you're going to go through the game and farm certain areas of the game to increase your damage output, which all of this takes a play in, your toughness, your firepower, again, damage, your DPS, you're going to want to be on tier 5, because that's where you're going to get the best loot. It even tells you, like, when you change tiers, that it can change the world or the map, and I've had it reload on me a few times, so, and which isn't a big deal, because it's changing the outcome, it's changing everything. So you're looking at this gear here, and my first thought is, why do I have green gear on? Because green, if you recall, when we played the game 2 years ago, is just a standard type of gear. Not so anymore. As you can tell, I do not have any exotics. Exotics are the highest you can get. I don't have any equipped. I don't have any for my main weapons. I do have an exotic. I believe you get the Damascus when you beat the game, but that's the only other one that the only exotic that I have. The green gear is going to be associated with, how do I put this, sets. So you have a 2-piece set, a 3-piece set, a 4-piece set. So you get talents and abilities based on how many pieces you have for that set. And this can affect your game style, gameplay, on what you end up being. So for example, I picked up, let me see if I can find it, because each one of these has something. Like I said, I just have random stuff thrown in right now just to raise my gear score. Wasn't the reclaimer. Yeah, this was the D3 FNC mask. So basically, like, I would love to be able to get a hold of this set. I don't know if I will be able to, but the purpose of, like, if you have everything, all of these gears, your backpack, your mask, your gloves, if you have like the D3 what I say, D3, F, and C. Basically, that is going to be more for a shield type build. If you go to your abilities, if you notice over here, I have a Century Shield put on. I'm actually trying to build for that because when I left the game, I had a support type build. So basically, I was using a sniper rifle. I was using the pulse to raise and increase my damage output to certain characters or enemies. So I'm no master of when it comes to the skills, the talent, and of course perks are what you gain as you do certain things throughout the game. So I'm not going to go through all of those, but when it comes to certain talents, you have ones that are better for PvE, player versus environment, and PvP, player versus player. Since I primarily play solo and I do a lot of PvE, I try to set my character up for PvE. Right now, getting back into the game, like I said, it can be a little overwhelming because there's so much going on, like with your talents. If you recall, you have all these different talents, but there's a talents inside of talents. So like, let me see, let's find one here. If I can, no, I don't want to do that. No, let's see if we can get into this thing. Here we go. I'm sorry, skills. I was saying talents. Talents are what you see on the screen. It's the skills. I stand corrected. It's skills within skills, because if you look at it, you have different levels. You have master, you have other types of skills that you can swap in and out. So if you notice, it says at the bottom, it says equip mod. So if you click on it, you can actually select different ones, except for the master. I guess maybe that one's automatically associated with it all the time. It's highlighted, so I'm assuming yes. But you can select these four. So that's something that I really didn't remember a whole lot from the first game, but as you build your character, you can go in, you can select these. I do the first aid, so basically what that ends up doing is healing me, and it also gives me extra damage output, so on and so forth. So again, I'm not going to go through all these, but it's something you need to be aware of, that when you're building your character, if you don't know, as you progress through the game, you have all of these different modifiers that you can add to these set skills. You have all of these different talents that you can swap in and swap out. There's a total of 4 slots. Obviously, I don't have the 4th one unlocked because I need to get my medical wing at 100%, which I haven't done. And then, of course, you can swap these in and out however you see fit. If you want to put 4 in one category, you can. If you want to scatter them out, you can. That's really up to you and how you want to build your character. So again, the whole purpose of this video is to kind of give you an idea of some of the things that I had to reacclimate myself with as I started looking at the game and started playing again, because it's like, whoa, what's going on? I do remember those being in the game from the very beginning, but it was something that jumping back in, or if you're new to the game, it can be a little bit, like I said, overwhelming at times. Down here, if you go under your inventory, scroll all the way down to this area right here, in this backpack area. Basically, as you do quest, if you have the opportunity to buy loot chests, they will show up here and you can open those up. You can get those in the dark zone. You can get those where, I mean, it's doing missions at the end of the mission, or a supply drop. I've gotten them from supply drops. Speaking of supply drops, that is something that is new to me. On the map, you'll get a supply drop, and I believe they show up every 24 hours, and it will show, and I don't see any on here right now. If you click on your mission overview, you can actually scroll down here on the left side, which is another very important thing you might want to take a look at, because as you scroll through some of these missions, like the incursions, you can see Falcon Lost. If you look on the left side, it'll tell you what you could get out of doing that incursion. Same thing with Stolen Signal, Clear Sky. You can see I've done all of the story missions. Even doing encounters, it tells you how much experience you're going to get, how much medical wing supplies, how many credits, so on and so forth. And it's something I think is good to know, because as you get further down into some of these missions, like down here, you get blueprints. Let's see if this one has one. You get a gear item, a high velocity magazine blueprint. So if you're looking for a specific blueprint, which you can craft, that's something else that you can do in this game. You might look over here to see if there's something specific that you want. When you highlight it, it does pop up on your map, and then of course you can fast travel to that area, like the safe house in that area, so you can get to it a little bit faster. Because I don't think you can, yeah, you can't fast travel directly to that area. So if you're looking to do the DLC, one of the things that you need to do when you first get into the game, I don't have the mission here, but south of the safe house is going to be the first mission for Underground. You have to do that first. I wasn't able to actually do that at level 145. My class was just way too low. I had to spend time and upgrade to around 170 to 200 to be able to solo that mission. Once you're done, it's going to direct you to come back to base of operations. You're going to want to do that. Once you get to base of operations, you're going to notice, if you look, here's the front door to the base. As you come in, if you look all the way back, it's a brand new door, and this is where you want to go. It's called the terminal. We'll go down here, and basically most of your DLC is going to be accessed in this area. So I haven't done survival yet.
Don't be shy.
You have a special equipment vendor. If you want to do your global events, which there is one coming up in 12 hours and 36 minutes, you can do that here. You can actually still purchase inside and go over to this vendor right here, and there's global caches. Again, that's, I was calling them loot boxes. They're caches. You can purchase a cache if you have enough points, which I don't have, and you can open that up and possibly get some of the global loot that was sought after. Let's see what else. That's something else in this game. There's another recalibration upstairs. So basically, if you don't like skill points, let's see what recalibration. Yeah. So like you have the talents on these things, you can recalibrate these weapons and basically try to roll something else. I haven't done it since I played it 2 years ago. I remember back then. It's a big gamble. You throw in some luck, hopefully, and you change. Like right here, you can actually change the talent, but there's nothing, as far as I'm aware of, that it's set to where you're going to get something specific. It's a gamble. It's like sticking money into a slot machine. But if you're a person that really likes messing with that, you can do that. Crafting station, same thing. Once you obtain blueprints, you can go through. You get tools out in the world, and you can craft blueprints. You can add skins to them. There's so much you can do here. That, like all this stuff right here, high-end weapon parts, you need so many of these in order to craft a weapon. Same thing with tools, electronics, fabric, again, so on and so forth. There's just so much in this game. There's a lot here for players. Here's your blueprint vendor. If you don't feel like going out in the world trying to look for something, you can certainly try to buy it here from the blueprint vendor, but you need Phoenix credits in order to do so. Of course, you get Phoenix credits from doing missions.
Come back another time.
You can also get some from, I believe, the UB Club. They have certain ones there. You can get them from doing the high value targets. This is the premium vendor. Call him my loot box vendor. So basically, you get some more of these encrypted caches. The game will give you probably about 5 or 7 keys to start out with. You go through, you can use them on these, and basically what I've gotten out of it is just like gear or cosmetic stuff. I really haven't, as you can tell, it's skins, stuff like that. I haven't got anything too fancy out of here. I haven't had the luck to get some of the better stuff, but they also give you some credits. I have 340 credits down there in my wallet. So this is, like I said, I call this the loot box area, because obviously it says you can go to store, and I'm assuming you probably purchase more in-game currency to buy these items, which I'm not going to do. Let's see. I have not done this. This is Pennsylvania Plaza, so matchmaking. Yeah, I have not done that. So I can't speak on that, exactly what that does. Here is like your PvP area. This is where you go for like the last stand. You can go in here, open menu, and you can do, it says last stand, or you can do skirmish. This area right here is pretty, I would say pretty available right now with players. That's where most of the people are at least when I've went. I have not done survival. That's probably going to be the next thing that I end up doing. So there's a weekly assignment in 32 minutes. So I don't even know what that is. I've watched a video or two on it just to kind of get an idea, but basically my understanding is you start out in the world with nothing. For those of you that don't know, the Last Stand DLC is strictly PvP. So if you're into PvP, I recommend that area. Then of course you have the tunnels, or underground, I call them the tunnels. So basically if you go down here, and I had to find out a lot of this information because I'm like, what in the hell do you do? You go to this area. So like I said, pretty much, if not all of your DLC content for your season pass is going to be located at the terminal. I do like that they kind of centrally located it. I think one of the things though, and I know I probably sound like I'm just rambling on, it's just that there is such a plethora of info in this game and things that I've came across. But see, I'm even losing my train of thought as I talk. It's just, as you get into the game, I really thought that there would be more PvE with the season pass, and it's really more PvP, in my opinion. The underground, you can do just PvE. I did it solo. It was quite tough at such a low level. My thing is if you're going to play this game, I recommend playing it with, as you can tell, you guys are getting to see the load screens too, what it takes to get into some of these areas. But I recommend playing it with a group of friends. Some of the things that I experienced, I tried doing Lexington, the story-based mission. I tried doing it on regular normal. I tried doing it on hard, and I tried doing it on challenging. And what I mean by doing it was I tried getting players to come in matchmaking, and unfortunately after waiting around for a couple of minutes on each go around, I was not able to find anybody that was available to do or wanted to play that. Could you come in here and possibly invite a player, and will they come with you? Yeah, I'm sure that's possible. I haven't tried that. I don't have a select group of friends out there to hook up with and to say, hey, do you guys have the Division? Because a lot of players that I've played with, they've already moved on. They've moved on to other games. But there are these games like the Division that are good games to come back to and to play. Just unfortunate that if your friends are done with it, sometimes they're done with it, and you come back and you play it, and you got to find some random people to play it or make new friends. But in any case, my point here is if you're just getting into the game and or you're coming back to the game and you're looking to go out and play some of the story-based missions because you want to grind it for loot, you may have a hard time finding somebody to grind it with, just randoms. I was not successful in doing that. You may have to come to a safe house and see if you can get, just like I said, these individual people here to help you. That's one of the differences that I've seen since I first started playing the game again 2 years ago versus now. There isn't a whole lot of people like there were back then playing the game. You could walk up to a story-based mission, hit matchmaking, and bam, you're into the game and you're playing. All right. So with that said, coming down to underground, this is your underground operations. It does a decent job explaining everything to you. Basically, you have to go in and you have to set up a custom operation. Obviously, I haven't unlocked hard or challenging at this point, but with that said, those are going to contain better loot once you get to them. You go in, you can do, it looks like I have hard and challenging here, so that's good. I've unlocked that. And then you have phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. Once again, you get into phase 3, you're going to get better stuff, better loot. And that's how you do it. And then once you select your mission, it'll pull open the subway. And you come through this door here, hop on the subway train over there, and then you're off and you go on. You can do those solo, or you can do that with a group of friends or randoms if you can find them. Alright, so let's get back out of this area. Trying to think, is there anything else that really stood out? Yes, when I got into the game, I actually mistakenly thought that one of the missions that was just added to the game here recently, if I'm correct, was part of the DLC, and it wasn't. And once I get to it, I'll show you what I'm talking about. And it's another area to where you can do it solo, but I think this game is really set up to be played with players, with a group of players. It does make it, in my opinion, a little bit more fun, unless you just want to do some of the story-based missions. But I recall when I played it before, I roamed around the city solo, and then I played the story-based missions with 3 other random players. And then, like I said, it was quite fun. I still have some great memories of some of the shootouts that we had, and really enjoyed that aspect of the game. And that's where I felt that this game did a better job than Ghost Recon Wildlands
You are now entering a
when it
safe area.
came to randoms. So, we're back in the terminal. Here we go. Running around in circles. You've heard me mention high value targets. And I don't know what's up with the rubber banding. I've encountered that on my last video. For whatever reason, it seems like when I'm recording, it tends to do that. So you have weekly high value targets and you have daily high value targets. I recommend doing these. Basically, you'll need intel in order to do it. I can select this, and once you select it, I believe you only have a certain amount of time in order to complete the mission. So if you do select it, make sure you set aside the time to do it. If you look in the top left-hand corner, these actually refresh. So it's about to refresh in 25 minutes.
I got plenty of intel for you, Agent.
Weekly high-value targets, same thing. They're going to cost more in order to do those. As you can see, I already did Castro. I did him solo, and he drops gear sets and equipment as well. You get that from the mission. Again, I recommend doing these. And you're probably asking, well, how the hell do I get intel? Well, that's where you go to the map. And if you recall at the very beginning of the video, I said each one of these safe houses had an icon, and they have like it's called a situation board. Hell, it says right there on the left-hand side. And you go to that situation board, and I'll show you that in a minute. And basically, you talk to the officer that's in that safe house. They send you out. You go out, and there's usually like 3 targets, I believe, that you have to take down. They're elites. Once you take them down, you go back to the safe house, if I'm correct, and then you get intel. You take this intel and you build that up, and you can come back to your base of operations, and that's where you can do these high value targets. Let's see, before we get into that. Oh, Camp Clinton. That's what I was thinking of. And where the hell's it at? And why is it not on my map? Because I've already opened it up. So when you first open it up, you'll see over here. Is it right there? Come on. Nope, that's a phone recorder. Over here on the left side was Camp Clinton. I guess it's not there now. But basically, once you get in here, you can see it opens up 3 other little side missions here. We'll call them side missions because really don't know what else to call them at this point. There's something else that were added to the game. You have Pier 93. You have, what is this one? Neutralize the lieutenants, and this was the carrier. So I tried one of these. Basically, you can do this PvE or PvP. You go in, you're locked into an area, and basically the whole premise of it is you have to survive. They throw waves and waves and waves of enemies at you, and then you collect it's not money, it's like points, and you have to have so many points in order to open up the next area, and then it's a door that's blocking it, and then once you do that, you're able to go to the next area. Things get a little bit more tough. They throw higher level enemies, and the whole purpose of that is so that if you want to try to build up your gear set, you can do that. And let's go to a safe house. Like I said, I'm kind of all over the place because this game is all over the place. I mean, there's just so much to do. So we're going to fast travel over here. And that's probably one of the things that, not necessarily the fast travel loading screens, but just getting in and out, as you saw when we went to underground, as I loaded up the game. Some of the load screens can be kind of untimely, predicated on how long it takes to connect to the server, how many people are online. Sometimes it can take a little bit. So situation board, where the hell? Ah, there it is, right in front of my face. So you walk over here. These are called search and destroy missions. So you hit start.
Come and take a look before it's
I'll go
all
ahead and
gone.
start one so you can kind of see what we're looking at. So right there, 3 targets. So you're given 3 targets. If you go to your map, and sometimes the map can become a little bit cluttered. I'm sure there's a way to clean that up somewhere, I think. But basically, you can look and find a search and destroy. There's one there, there's one there, and there's one there. You need to do these search and destroy targets in order to get the intel, and that's where you take it back to your base of operations in order to do the high value targets. If you're going to play the game, I recommend spending time in the dark zone. I spent a little time in here. You can get some good loot dropped. If you're going to start out, I'd recommend starting out in DZ01 and then trying to work your way up. This area right here seems to be a really busy area. This is the area that was added that's new. You'll see a mission icon when you first boot up the game. It should be up in this upper right hand corner. Basically, that's just an icon to go, hey, dumbass, there's a mission over here. It's to get you acclimated, to show you that they did add on another section to the game. And then that's pretty much it. They have, extraction points, safe rooms. The problem with Dark Zone, which also makes it fun, it's kind of like a double-edged sword, is that you go through these areas, you can get some badass loot, but if you're killed by another player, that's it. They can steal your shit and then extract it, or you can put it on one of these extraction sites. The chopper will fly in, and then you may have someone come over there and try to take it off. And then you got to kill them, and if you have a squad of people, a lot of times you'll get squads of people. If you're trying to solo the dark zone area, it can become very difficult because 1 against 4, I mean, I think you pretty much know the outcome to that. I also recommend going through, make sure to do your daily side quest and your weekly side quest. I mean, these are important. Here's your daily mission right here. I've already completed it, but you can go back. You can redo these. I recommend doing it. You can get some good loot from that. Make sure to open up go through and do these encounters. You get skill points out of those. Obviously, I need to do a couple more because I need to go back and if you haven't done it, the base of operations and get your wings 100% complete. As you can see, I have 2 out of the 3 done. So that's something else I need to do. For those that have played before, you might have already gotten those completed. Not really sure. So what is this over here? It's just another situation board. Okay. And then, let's see, looks like another mission. So like I said, some of these missions you can do over and over and over again. You can see the ones that I've completed. What is this down here?
Get ready.
Another incursion. So, I mean, there are lots of incursions in the game. These are quite challenging. Overall, I mean, I've been really happy getting back into the game. It's been fun. My biggest issue with the game was I was really hoping for just more PvE, and the developers did, I think, a decent job of adding in, content.
Now leaving the safe
to.
area.
I'm gonna go ahead and grab that.
A farm. Say what? Okay, I bought a farm.
Stop the transmission on it. So I think the developers did a decent job implementing, certain aspects to the game to keep us solo players involved. But at the same time, I wish there were more PvE story-based missions included in with the Season Pass DLC. That's probably my only complaint. For those that seem a little bit confused with when it comes to the inventory. I mean, again, it took me a while to try to understand all of the different abilities again, because if you don't play a game for a long time, you may not remember everything that there is, even things that were there to begin with, much less when they change it up. You know, your weapons, which I haven't even touched base on yet, you can actually modify. If you see the modify button as you go through the game, you can add skins to them. You can add, like, that's just a generic scope that I have on it. You can add down here in different muzzles and stuff like that to each one of your weapons. And that's important. That's very important because it helps your overall firepower. The same thing with your gear. You can click on it. You can actually modify it. You can add in different types of mods to your gear. Again, I failed to mention that earlier. It's just there's so much that you can do, and each one of these pieces you can do that with. So it really depends on how you want to set your character up ultimately, if you want to just go for your high-tiered gold stuff and then utilize those and mod those, or if you're looking for a specific set. Because with your gold, you can just throw in a bunch of random stuff, and there's nothing wrong with these. You know, they're perfectly fine. You can, some of these are pretty high level, like this one right here that I have on is a score of 249. The one below it is specifically for a set, but you can see it's the same score level, but look how it brings my overall toughness and primary firepower down. So I'm not using it right now, and there's really no point in me using it, because in order to reap the benefits of like Deadeye or Century's Gloves or any of these, you can tell as you collect them, they'll highlight on the right side, and once you get a certain amount, like this is a set bonus. You have a 2 set bonus, 30% accuracy, set bonus, 10% headshot, set bonus if you have 4 pieces, Century's Calling, and I can't really read all that, but it goes through talking about headshots. And then, so I mean, that's the whole thing, and these do me no good at this point, and I don't want them anyway until I get to the world tier 5, so I can get the highest ones available. But in order to get there, you at least got to equip something that has a high gear score. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to change your overall world tier. Other than that, I think that's pretty much it. I mean, you just got to go through and then get yourself acclimated. Oh, this is something interesting. Yeah, you can actually, once you get a set out or a loadout that you like, there's preset slots here that were not there before. You can, this is really cool. So you can save your loadout. So if you really like a loadout, you can save it. Like I said, you can go into your characters. It'd be cool to be able to get a complete collection of like one of these outfits, but that's going to take time, obviously, in order to do that. So for now, it's just a bunch of random shit thrown together. But yeah, I mean, that's, you got to spend time with the game, get acclimated with it.
Inspiration to us all.
Yes, I am. And just go through it. As you can see, the weather is changing as we've stood here, and it does. And that's one of the things that's really fantastic about the Division, is the fact it does change. It goes from sunny to cloudy to foggy to some snow, heavy snow, light snow. It's pretty cool. And the fact that, if you didn't know, and this was a question that was asked, and I did answer it on my last video, they did a fantastic job. They, being the developers, did a fantastic job on making New York City and the Division really represent New York City the way it is, as far as landscapes, major sites, things like that. I mean, there are a few side streets apparently that the developers didn't include, probably for various reasons of the addition of the dark zone. And obviously it's not going to look like this because this is all ran down, but this is supposed to be a really true representation of New York City. And the level of detail that's been implemented in this game, I said it on my last video, is absolutely incredible. I mean, they really did something right. And on that note, we're going to see if we can take this dude out. And this is why I like the shield, ladies and gentlemen. I found that soloing, this really helps you out. And you can shield bash. He's going to hit me with a stick. So that's one of the reasons I like the shield, because you can just pop that up and boom. It's one and done. So anyway, I don't think that I've missed anything in that, at least as far as my experience has been. Things that maybe were a little bit confusing to me when I jumped back into the game. So hopefully I've done an all right job explaining just the changes, a lot of the changes, and some of the confusing aspects of the game. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave comments in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. Maybe go over to Twitter, check me out there, and leave some comments or some feedback over there as well. And hit that like button if you like the content, and if you really liked it, maybe subscribe. So until next time, guys, y'all peace out.